Hey, what's up guys, Kadachi here and welcome back to the channel. Got a new build for you guys today. It's going to be a Spire of Ire Glacial Lance Huntress. After the last build video, I decided to go back and try to put together a spear build, but I didn't want to use Tangle Tongue, so I wanted to see what I could put together again with the Spire of Ire. And I want to say we ended up with another pretty decent build. This time, instead of doing just raw fizz damage for chaos, we're doing chaos damage with as much LE damage we can get as possible, preferably cold and lightning. We incorporated Trinity for getting some more damage, and if you really want to, you can add stuff like Elemental Conflux, but it's not a necessity at all. So we're doing stuff like adding Despair Wither to boost our chaos damage as well. The real shiner here is the Chaos Infusion from the Spire of Ire. That is just a lot of damage. I really wanted to just do an infusion stacking build. Like, in reality, this is probably much better on a Deadeye for Frenzy Charge generation and consuming Frenzy Charge for doubling their effect. But I wanted to do it on the Huntress to try to do something with Cold Infusion. And to use Cold Infusion, you would have to consume power charges. Now, we managed to get a way to get a Profane Ritual setup going and auto-create power charges for bossing. But I then realized after testing that infusions don't stack together. When I would get a power charge and consume it, I would have to use all of the cold infusion before I could use the chaos infusion. They would not go off at the same time, so that would result in much less DPS. Hopefully in the future, maybe GGG changes that and we could have actual infusion stacking builds where we use them all at the same time. That would be pretty good. But another thing would be a better way to produce power charges and endurance charges without putting in too much work. That's one of the major problems. Having to run Profane Ritual for a bossy is a huge no-no, so hopefully they change that in the future as well. Another thing that I want to bring up that I've been mentioning in a lot of my videos is the Xesht targeting for projectile skills. Here is an example of that. I've had to deal with that throughout many of my testings. You can go back in any of my build videos requiring projectiles, and you will notice that a lot of them are just missing. I don't know if this is due to Xesht just being a floating boss and the targeting for controller, but I do play on console and Xbox, and I haven't seen anyone bring this up at all. This also seems to be just a huge problem for anything that isn't just projectiles. I've had this happen on melee basic attacks. It's just a lower DPS output overall compared to all the other bosses in the game when it comes to consistency. So really do hope GGG fixes that in the coming future. Other than that, the bossing is really good, and as for the ad clear, it's also pretty darn good. We have such a low ES pool for pretty good reason. I decided to try to make this build with the new Cold Palm Scepter that they added. I didn't really want to use the Palm of the Dreamer again, and I wanted to try something new. And this thing is actually really amazing. Aside from just giving us cold damage, the Scepter Shrine buff itself is just really good for defensive purposes. It's basically like having like a temp chains on you. I like to run Pulsarkin because you get the shatter effects very easily, just making for some easy mob pops. And honestly, if you really wanted to, you could just make a pretty good screen clearing trample tail setup with this if you really wanted to, but I didn't really want to do that. I like my movement speed, so we just kept it at that. And when it comes to mapping, you kind of want to like angle yourself in certain directions since Glacial Lance only fires in a straight line. So if you're on controller, you do want to try to aim with your right stick forward in certain directions. I don't really know how it would be on PC. I'm sure the experience would be a little better. But I'm definitely not really trying to auto-target too much with this setup. But that's really all we have to talk about for the build itself, so let's hop straight into the gear. So starting with your main weapon, you're going to want to pick up the Spire of Ire. These are still pretty decently cheap. A roll like this is about 30 div-ish, so definitely still affordable, so pick up one of these. As for the rings, these are probably going to be one of, if not the most expensive purchases in the build as of right now. You want basically T1 accuracy with stuff like lightning or cold, even fizz. But I basically just picked up whatever I could find for the cheapest amount, and that was like 90 to 100 div for both my rings each. So yeah, definitely try to get highest accuracy with whatever damages you can fit in, preferably lightning and cold, with double attributes or even resistances. For the armor, you're going to want a high evasion energy shield base with the highest spirit as possible. We're going to have a bit of spirit left over, but say you had an unset ring, you would definitely just want the highest spirit as possible to do less skill swapping. For the helm, we're going to be using the deepest tower. You're probably going to at least want like a 10 plus spirit corrupt on there. For the gloves, we're going to be using Hands of Wisdom in action because we do have quite a bit of dexterity and intelligence within the build, but I'm sure you can just use a really good pair of triple LE attack damage rare gloves with like triple res, and that would be pretty crazy. For our belt, we're going to be using Headhunter. This is strictly for ad clear, doesn't really do much for our bossing, but makes our ad clear tremendously better. In our offhand, we're going to be using the new Guiding Palm of the Eye. This shrine is just really good for defensive purposes and also offensive if you're using stuff like Pulsarkin, but definitely want to pick one of these up. If you really don't have to use this if you don't want to, you can use like Palm of the Dreamer or even probably like Sacred Flame, but I really do think the shrine buff itself just offers too much defense for you not to use it. For your amulet, you're going to want to get the highest spirit as possible, the highest projectile levels, and I decided to go with whatever reses I could get, and you'll want to get a high ES amulet. This is kind of where a lot of our defense is coming from since we don't have any on our helmet, and then we are anointing that with Event Horizon. For our boots, you're going to want to get double res with the highest ES as possible and 35% movement speed. For the Sun Threshold, you do not need this unless you're trying to run something like Roa, but other than that, you can get either another res or 100% increased socket effect item boots, so completely up to you. So just like our Spire of Ire Spear Throw build, we are replicating our weapon swap tech for bossing. So our Stormlance is strictly going to be used for generating frenzy charges more consistently for bossing, so we decided to pick up a spear with the highest crit, accuracy, and attack speed as possible. Those are more decently cheap than trying to go for something with, you know, the most best mods on a spear. But try to pick up something like this. This is just comparable to how we did Rapid Assault on our last build, and then we did a weapon swap to our main setup for actual damage. So our Stormlance isn't doing any damage, it's strictly just for getting crits off more consistently for bossing. And for your weapon set 2 offhand, you're going to want to get a Omen Scepter. We're using Malice because it gives us critical weakness, hence helping us get our frenzy charges more. For your charms, you're going to want to use the Stun Charm, any rite of passage of your choosing, and the Freeze Charm. For mapping, you want to put in Combat Frenzy, and then for bossing, we swap out Combat Frenzy for our Withering Presence. We use Herald of Ice for our mapping and swap that out for our Blasphemy and Despair setup when we start bossing. As for other gear options, we tend to use Ingenuity for our bossing. You can even use this for mapping if you don't want to use Headhunter. If not that, then you can just opt to use a triple res belt to fill in those res caps. As per usual, I will be showing you guys the DPS tooltips that you should have by the end of the build basically, so here you go. And for the skill gems and their links, here you go. Now let's move on to the skill tree. So starting with the Ascendancy, we're going to be going up through Elemental Infusion. Now, personally, this is why I say we don't really need to be on the Huntress, because we're not even really using the Elemental Infusions like that much. We're taking Infused Avatar for 50% chance for Infusions to infuse your projectiles without being consumed, so this is cool, but it's not super crazy because we're always going to have uptime on our infusions anyway. But if you didn't want to run that, you can run something like Mystic Harvest. Say we weren't running CI, you can then leech off of the spear because Spire of Ire comes with life leech as well. Then you can run this Mary's Brew also if you really wanted to, but I just decided to run this. The real breadwinner here is the open weakness for Impeditory Instinct. This is really where all the damage is coming from and how we can get even crazier one-shots. But like I said, it'd be the same outcome on a Deadeye as well. and our crit chance is coming from critical strike, which was why we are stacking accuracy, so definitely want to pick this up as well. As for the tree itself, we have a few things linked to our weapon set 2, mostly catered towards more frenzy charges and crit chance, and anything in weapon set 1 is just more damage. So coming down here, we're taking the projectile damage. I wanted the accuracy as well for the more crit chance. Weapon set 2, we're taking some crit chance here, and also the frenzy charge node here for weapon set 2. And we want to make sure to take the entire low life tree for both weapon sets. Coming down here, we have a Megalomaniac with an extra frenzy charge and dynamism. I would try to go for the extra frenzy charge. Dynamism is just for some more damage and trigger skill generation. Weapon set 2, some more crit chance here. Coming back up, we have crit going towards both our weapon set 1 and 2. The attack damage nodes here, melee damage nodes here. You can take these nodes as well, just another option for some more damage. This is also another option for more damage. I decided not to take this anymore. I was running Herald of Thunder and Ice, but we decided to switch it up. I decided to go with this node here. This is quite a bit of damage. You decide if you want to sacrifice the points for it or not, but I think it's pretty worth. Up here for the crit chance, crit damage bonus nodes, and we have our Against the Darkness time loss. With gain extra chaos and spirit, it doesn't have to be gain extra chaos, it can be any of the extra gain at least, but I just decided to go with this one because that's what we have available. Want to take the crit damage bonus here, that's going towards our weapon set 1. And then you're coming up here, taking Spiritual Ward, giving us some energy shields for our nice little hybrid chest piece. Eternal Youth is a must, and then we're coming over here to take the entire crit tree. You want to make sure to get a recover 2% max mana on Kill Jewel. This is like a necessity, everything else can be whatever you want. Up here, we're taking Thin Ice. This is just for our ad clear since we're going to be getting some freezes. Not too much needed for bossing, but we do get some freezes off on bossing. Taking the crit chance here for both our weapon sets. This is basically a must-have for ad clear, or you will basically get a purple frozen. So definitely want to pick up these 3 nodes here. For our weapon set 2, we're just taking as much meta skill gain energy as possible, and that'll be that. We're going CI so we can be immune to chaos damage and bleeding, so we'll pick that up. You don't have to go CI if you can get chaos res on your rings and your boots. I could see this going not CI and then leeching on life, but that's completely up to you. Wavering stance from nothing to take the last 3 low life nodes, and we're coming up here for the big ES node. This is also not like a de facto version of the tree. There's been a lot of changes that I've gone through, and there's many options that you can take to make this build suit your needs however you want it to be. So you can go ahead and play with it however you would like. So that's going to be it for the tree. As for the bossing rotation, it's quite simple but a little different from our Spear Throw Deadeye win. Since we don't generate charges as fast as a Deadeye would, you have to kind of time, if you want to go for one shots that is, you kind of have to time when you're going to use your barrage spams. So I would just throw down a Stormlands, I would generate frenzy charges, spam Glacial Lands here and there, keep throwing down your Stormlands, generate some frenzy charges. When you're at max, you want to press barrage, but you don't want to use it right then and there. So you have the option to just wait to get another frenzy charge, or if you have like a spear stab on, you can use that. But you want to generate another frenzy charge before you use the barrage throw. Once you do that, you can just throw it out and that'll typically get the one shot off. But what I typically just like to do is just throw down Stormlands and just spam barrages. Spam Glacial Lances, and then if I really see like I have a bunch of frenzy charges up, then I'll throw in a barrage and possibly get a one shot off. But I'm really not focusing on the one shot. I'm just strictly throwing down Stormlands, throwing out Glacial Lands, vice versa, ping ponging those two back and forth. And that'll be it for that. If you guys did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'm always trying to push out more builds as per usual. We're staying true. I've gotten so much love from you guys from my past videos, and I'm grateful for this. So thank you guys so much. I will keep trying to put out more PoE2 build videos. I will stay locked in and looking forward to 0.3. So stay tuned, and I will see you guys in the next one.